That's when I got stabbed. That's when I got stabbed. That's when I got stabbed.
That's when I got. Carolyn, how are you?
I am doing well.
We are so excited to have you today. Thank you for coming up.
No problem.
Appreciate you. So first of all, did I say your name correctly? Is it Carolyn?
It is Carolyn.
Has your name ever been mispronounced in the history of your life?
Caroline.
Really?
Is one. Yes. A lot of my Latina sisters and brothers call me Caroline.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's it.
That's pretty much it? Okay. So you don't have the agony that I had growing up.
No.
My name is Khalid, but most people call me Khalid. But I've got Kaylee, Kylie.
Ever since I was little, I've called you Khalid.
And I never, you can't correct the whole city, right?
Right.
So it's like, yo, it's Khalid. So my personal, inner circle and best friends and family, they say it correctly. But yeah, for me, that bothered me growing up. And when I interview people, it bothers some people it doesn't. But you got the name that is almost hard, impossible to mispronounce it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so did you have any nicknames growing up?
Ooh, most people called me Carol.
Okay.
But my nickname was Cool C from back in the day.
Now,
Cool C.
Who called you Cool C? All people in the hood?
Yeah, all my friends in the hood. Cool C. That
Remember
name.
how it came about?
That name actually came about when I was up to no good. They would be like, "Uh-oh, Cool C here," you know.
Right.
So they said that I was mad cool, but if you got on my bad side, then they would also call me Carrie. Remember that movie Carrie?
Yeah,
with
Carrie, yeah.
With a firework.
Yes.
Yeah, so those
so
were.
You got a mean streak too.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Okay. Now, did you have the type of nickname where, I don't know, somebody on your dad's side called you this and your uncle or your mom's side called you that, or was it just all strictly Carol?
No, when I was growing up, I had one of my favorite uncles, Uncle Edward. He used to call me Mighty Mouse because I was speed. I would run all around.
Okay.
And then my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, would call me Carolina Rice.
What's her name? Give her a shout out.
June Benjamin. May she rest well. That is my father's mother, and she was the best grandmother in the entire world.
Okay, shout out to Grandma June.
Yeah, so between Carolina Rice and Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse.
Got it.
Yeah, because I was zooming.
Carol and Cool C. Got it. So where are you from?
Okay, so this is a mixture. I am from downtown, and I spent a little time in Parkside.
So in Camden, New Jersey.
Yes, in Camden. I apologize. Yes, but mostly from downtown.
Mostly from downtown. Do you a specific section of downtown?
Yes, back in the day they used to call it 456, 4th Street, 5th Street, 6th Street.
Right.
So yeah, I lived on 4th and Chestnut, 3rd and Chestnut, and we also lived on 4th and Benson Street. That's where my grandmom lived. So that was the central location on Benson Street. That was around from the courts, right on West Street downtown, where they used to have all those basketball tournaments back in the day.
Got it.
So that's the central location. So wherever we moved, grandmom didn't move. So grandmom was
there. Okay.
Yep.
How would you describe your neighborhood growing up? How would you describe your city and your neighborhood?
Believe it or not, growing up in Camden, my experience was not that bad. Growing up downtown, we had a family-oriented neighborhood.
Okay.
So there were a lot of big families downtown. Like my grandmom, she had 12 children. And then you had the Flacks, Miss Dot and them. It was about 12 children there. And then you had the Holmes, who married into our family, so we're related to the Holmes. They had a lot of children. So it was a lot of big families growing up in our vicinity of where my grandmom lived. So everybody, and then we had the Finneys who lived on the next block who ended up not marrying, having kids with some of my aunts. So we were all family.
Right.
So you had the Finneys who were our family, you had the Flacks who were family, you had the Holmes who were family. So we kind of all mixed.
Okay.
So we didn't get away with a lot. We didn't get away with a lot.
It was
somebody watching and somebody who knew who you belonged to. So it was a lot. I grew up calling a lot of those people aunt and uncles, whether they married into the family or just across, even the samples across the street.
Okay.
You know, everybody had big families. Okay. So I grew up with a lot of family. My grandmother actually had, it's 96. My grandma has 96 grandchildren, great-grandchildren. This is on my mom's side. Okay. And we just celebrated her 80th birthday.
96?
Yeah, it's 96 of us.
Wow.
Between the grands, the great-grands, and great-great-grand, I don't know, however many grands. But it's like 96 of us, the last we counted. Now, some people that had more kids, I can't keep up. But yeah, it's a lot of us. So my experience growing up in Camden was that of community and family.
Okay.
Even through whatever, it was still community and family.
So speaking of family, were you an only child?
Oh no, I have two older siblings, two older sisters.
Okay, so what would you say is so they're both older. Mm-hmm. So if you are, imagine you're 10 years old. How old are they?
I'm 10. One of my next sister will be 12, and then the other one will be 13.
Oh, so you really grew up in the same house?
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were 10 and one was 21 or something like that?
Nope.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What was that like being the youngest, being the baby?
It was, well, when I was younger, it was torture because my middle sister, she didn't start liking me until later on in life.
Okay.
But now we talk about it and we laugh about it. She said she was mad I was born. That's the middle child syndrome. We know that all exists. So growing up.
Jan Brady, Marsha.
Seriously. Seriously.
Right. Well, all I hear all day long at school is how great Marsha is at this or how wonderful Marsha did that. Marsha.
Growing up when I was younger, it was rough because literally she used to torture me. Like literally, she made me cut all my hair one time. Like she was torturing me.
Right.
And then would run and tell after I did something. After she coached me into doing it, then she would, like, she put me in the oven one time. Like she didn't turn it on. But imagine when imagine being put in the oven and me yelling and screaming to get out. But other than that, once we got a little older, we were inseparable. My older sister, even though she's only like 4 years older than me, she's always been parentified. Okay. So she was never 4 years older than me. She was always 10 years older than me in my mind. Like, so
always in charge.
Always helping out, always, so I didn't really hang out with her.
Okay.
Like she's not really a sister.
Like how your parents says, I'm not your friend.
Right.
Parents,
yeah. So it wasn't until we got older that we started even connecting really.
Okay.
Even though we were all connected, it's weird, but
I understand what you're saying, though.
Yeah, it was just different. She was just in a league of her own. She ain't never do nothing. We like, what are you doing? Like Nana, we used to call her auntie, but it was terrible.
With that being said, did you grow up with both parents?
I did. My parents co-parented, if that's what you want to call it.
Okay.
My parents were married really young.
Okay.
And my mom actually started doing drugs at a young age. I was in maybe kindergarten.
Okay.
When I remember the first of everything starting to fall apart.
Okay.
My father moved out. my mom.
So you remember before?
I remember.
There was a time when you all lived together.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Some people I interviewed, but like, nah, I can't remember.
Yeah, we lived together. Okay. We lived together. We lived out Centerville.
Okay. In Camden.
In Camden, and we had our house. My dad would go to work. He would come home. My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And
so was mine.
And so she remember back in the day, I was born in the 70s, 79. So like in the 70s, everybody smoked weed, right?
Right.
Everybody, weed was the thing to do.
Reefer, they call it.
Yeah, reefer. And them joints, right?
Right.
So everybody smoked then. I had a few uncles who were the providers of the weed. And I remember very vividly when everything went down south.
Okay.
Because I'm not gonna name names, but my uncles, right? They were the ones who were selling the weed in the community, and I remember like yesterday when they came. They used to go to New York and get their stuff and come back, and I remember them saying, "We got something that I remember because I was young and I was home all the time. I wasn't in daycare." Okay. I remember them saying, "We got something that'll get you higher than weed," and all of them. So you got uncles who were riding around in their Cadillacs and their Adidas and fly with everything,
right,
to now full-fledged crackheads. They lost everything right before my eyes.
Wow.
And it was because they didn't know the effects of what this new thing was going to do to them, because they would smoke weed, they would sell their weed, they would smoke it. Like,
right.
There's nothing for you to sell this and do it. Like, they didn't understand what was going to happen to our community. So I remember it very vividly.
Looking back now that you're an adult, do you feel like that affected you?
Oh, yes.
How so?
Oh, where did we get started? Because of the crack epidemic, right? Because of the crack epidemic, my family split, right? My mom and my dad, he left. He tried to talk to my grandma, but it was so much unknown about my grandma, meaning my mother's mom, about it, saying, I think this is what she's doing. It just isn't adding up. Her behavior started changing. We know what happens with crackheads now, right?
Right.
But then it was like, wait, something is wrong. Like, I don't know. She's missing when I come home. The girls aren't being taken care of. Something's not right. And I guess everybody was in denial about it. So as a result, my dad said, you know what? I can't take it no more. I remember very vividly the day my dad left.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I remember very vividly. My dad came home from work and mom wanted money and he wasn't giving her money. And she took all of his clothes out because where we used to live, it was like a driveway. You had to go down and then it was a driveway for each of the houses. And she put all his clothes to the end of the driveway and lit them on fire. Like,
wow, like waiting to excel.
Like waiting. Let me tell y'all something. My mom was that chick.
What was her name?
She's Sylvia. She recently passed 2 years ago, but yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so she put all his clothes at the end of the driveway and she lit him on fire. And he was like, I gotta go. It was either that or he was going to snap, and my dad was...
Or whatever would have happened.
Or whatever would have happened. So he left and he went to my grandmom's. Well, not long after that, even though my mom was in her addiction, she still didn't play. Like, I don't understand. Well, my mom was also a strong woman. So
she was able to function.
She was able, but not really. She saw herself going down. So what she did was took me and my two siblings and she packed up our stuff and took us to our dad and was like, I can't do this. I'm not in the right space. You keep them.
Okay.
Which to me was the ultimate parental thing to do. I'm out here in these streets.
Y'all could have wound up in foster homes.
We could have ended up anywhere,
right?
So much stuff could have happened.
Right.
Yet she was like, I'm not right. And I know girls should grow up with their moms, but I'm not right. Like, I can't do this. So she dropped us off, and that's how we ended up at Parkside.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Where'd you live in Parkside?
On Wildwood Avenue.
Okay.
Wildwood Avenue. Yeah, so that was kindergarten when we was living with Mom. So first grade is when I went to Parkside, when I moved in with my dad and my grandmom. Went to Parkside Elementary School, and then third grade I went to Forest Hill for the C.H.I.P.S program.
And in middle school you went to Hatch. Which we're going to get to that. And I wanted to touch on that when we get to it, because I knew from talking to you and from knowing you that you're from downtown.
Yeah.
How'd you even go to school in Parkside?
Yeah.
This is the story.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I even though Mom was in her addiction, Mom did all of these things, all my family was still downtown. So my dad was very good at, mind you, crack was new, right?
Right.
And he did an excellent job at saying, your mom is sick. You know, if she wasn't sick, she wouldn't do this. She wouldn't do that. So he never allowed bitterness and like unforgiveness to really settle in our hearts.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
the parents' reaction to the situation matter. Like, he never allowed, even, you know, when I'd be like, I don't want to see her because she lied. She said she's going to come and she didn't. And he's like, well, she's sick. If she isn't sick, then, and so I always looked at substance abuse as a disease.
Okay.
As a sickness versus, you know, you can stop. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Even though there wasn't much information out, my dad did an excellent job at making sure that he did not downplay my mom or like fault her for whatever. And he allowed us to still be with my mother.
Okay.
On weekends, on holidays, whenever we wanted to, even during the week, we would always see her. We knew she was around, you know, because we would be with family. So even though she was in her addiction, she was still in our lives, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the hard outer shell that people may have felt that you presented growing up, they had no idea what you was going through.
No idea. Nope.
And that's what happens with kids growing up. Like, you have no idea what's going on behind closed doors in their house.
Yeah.
And what they had to deal with this morning, what they had to deal with last night, and why this girl came to school with an attitude.
Yeah.
She always got an attitude. You don't know what's going on.
Because even with that, like, even when my mom dropped us off, my mom got clean maybe 5th grade.
Okay.
Right? So I moved back downtown with her.
Okay.
And that's when I was catching the bus to Forest Hill.
Okay.
Right? Moved back downtown with her. So 5th, 6th grade, by the time the end of 6th grade, she relapsed again. But this time, I got used to my freedom.
Okay.
And didn't want to move back with Dad.
Right.
Right? So I'm downtown doing my thing. So, you know what I'm saying? Not that I was into nothing crazy. I just really like being outside. I was a tomboy growing up.
Okay.
So, like, you know, outside, didn't really have no curfew. Mom's doing her thing. I'm chilling right here.
What you wanted to do.
I did what I wanted to do. So I stayed with Mom. So like middle of 5th grade, 5th, 6th, 7th, and then it wasn't. I moved back with Dad like 7th.
So let's talk about something.
Yes.
Talk about something real quick before we jump too far ahead. Looking back, what was your personal relationship with both of them overall? You
I'm a daddy's girl to the day I die.
Okay.
I'll still
What's
call
your dad's name?
Willie Benjamin.
Shout out to Mr. Willie.
My dad did a phenomenal job raising girls. Right?
Okay.
He did a phenomenal job.
Your dad was always there?
Always.
All 18 years?
All 42 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if my husband BJ Shores, even if he tells me no, I'll be like, I'll just ask my dad.
Right.
Not many times he tell me no, or if he say not right now, the fact that he said no, I'm like, what do you mean no? Like,
okay.
No, did you not understand what I just asked? Maybe you didn't understand the question. You know, what does no mean? No, but if he does say no or not right now, I'll just ask my dad. you know?
Right.
So I am a daddy's girl, and I appreciate everything. He set the standard on what I would and would not accept.
Okay.
And my mother, our relationship got better over time, right?
Okay.
Because as the youngest, my siblings have a lot more positive memories than I do.
Than you do, right.
So I went through a whole phase of, I remember for my 5th grade graduation, when I was like, not 5th grade, 4th grade, going into 5th grade. I'm like, maybe if I get straight, the reason why I got straight A's, because I was thinking, well, if I do good in school, maybe mommy will stop getting high. If I do this, then maybe mommy will stop. When you don't understand and you're so young and it was so new, it wasn't really much for people to talk about. People didn't understand what was going on because everybody smoked their reefer and they still functioned.
Right.
Like, you know, so everything was so new. So
really messed us up.
It really messed us up.
All the inner cities, just the black neighborhoods in general, like we lived it.
Yeah.
And not saying other neighborhoods and other like communities weren't messed up too.
Right.
But we lived ours.
But think about it. Think about it. Now that there's an opioid pandemic, epidemic.
Right.
I keep saying pandemic. Epidemic. Pandemic is in my brain.
Yeah, all of it.
Now there are so many services, there's so much literature, there's so much whatever.
Right.
When the crack epidemic hit our neighborhoods, there was nothing. And it was more so like, that's on them.
Right.
You know, you chose to do this. You know, that, and not, I saw it with my own eyes how it went from everybody smoking weed, reefer, to this.
Right.
And I remember the conversation vividly. Oh, sis, I got something that get you higher than weed. Come on, we gonna do this. And I remember them all smoking. Like, I remember it. And I'm like, yo, what happened to him? Went from this big, stocky man to a string bean.
Wow.
In less than a year. Like, all the cars, the Cadillacs, all the money that I'm used to them counting on, gone. So, I mean, while some people be like, oh, I'm like, y'all don't understand what happened. They were tricked into it. They were tricked. Like, they didn't even know. Like, so, yeah. And so my mom's relationship got better as time went on, because I had a lot of resentment that I wasn't good enough when I was younger. Like, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough for you to raise me and to do those things that you did with my siblings that I have no recollection of. Like, so even now when we're talking about stories, they're like, you remember when mommy used to? I'm like, no, don't remember that. Nope. Because I was around, they were in school. So I spent the most time with mommy that year when she was getting high, when she first started getting high. So a lot of things happened. Me being left in the house, me crying, me looking out the window when it's raining because I don't know where she is and I'm home by myself, you know?
You know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I used to be envious of kids like you. And I'm gonna say this. There was always certain kids in class who would be like when they get in trouble for mouthing off or something, they'd be like, call my mom. I never had the heart to say something like that. Like, if that got back to my dad, like, call my dad.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
You could say call my mom.
I would. Mm-hmm.
But it's like nobody knows actually what your situation was.
The only person in Hatch who knew what was going on with me at the time was Miss Betts.
Okay.
You remember Miss Betts?
Teacher,
the Spanish teacher, Miss Betts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when I used to be mouthing off and getting smart and doing all this, she would grip me up.
Right.
She would grip me up. It was a few teachers and
who knew some things that everybody else didn't know.
Who knew some things that everybody. So you had Miss Taylor, the typing teacher.
Okay.
Miss Waring, I think she was the science teacher.
Right.
You had Miss Betts. You had Miss Farrell. She was like the assistant.
Okay.
Or something. She would grip me up quick, like, you know, but they knew what was going on.
And they were kind of like the mothers you did.
They were like the mother. They kept me out of a lot of stuff. Like, and I'm grateful for them.
With that being said, did you become a parent yourself?
I am.
How many beautiful blessings do you have?
We have one child. His name is Caleb, and he's 11.
He's 11.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you grew up because you were there, and you know how your parents raised you because you were there. What would you say are some similarities and differences between your parents' parenting styles and yours?
So what I like to keep similar from my father is the communication.
Okay.
Right? My dad was able to, my father never beat me. That's a big deal, right?
It's a huge deal. Because I can't say.
He never beat me. All my dad used to say is, I'm disappointed. That's worse than any beating you can ever give me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the expectations, the amount of faith and responsibility he instilled in us. So when he said he was disappointed, you might as well should have beat me from head to toe, because that's how damaged I was if he ever said that.
Okay.
He said it one time.
Okay. You remember what you did?
That's when I got stabbed.
We're going to get to that.
Yes, but that one time, he had nowhere but disappointed. I'm so disappointed. Oh,
yeah.
I felt like the scum of the earth. So my dad was very good with talking to us about what we did wrong, what we could have done differently, things that we should and should not have done. Why do you think it was a bad idea? He was good on talking to us.
Okay.
And honestly, my behavior responded to that. When I was off the hook, growing up, is when I was back with my mom and she would beat me up.
It makes sense. The correlation is there.
Makes sense.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So you keep the communication open.
Keep the communication.
How is that? Can he come to you about anything?
Oh, he talks to me about everything. He talks to me, and I talk to him about, hey, what happened in school today? Hey, are any of your friends vaping? I know it's a big deal right now. Right. Oh yeah, Mom, 2 girls got caught. Like he is open. Even with, I remember he was in, I want to say like kindergarten or first grade, and he came to us, Mom, when I get married, do I have to marry somebody our skin, or can I marry anybody any color skin? Well, baby, as long as they, yes, he did.
Oh, wow.
I said, as long as they love you and you love them, it don't matter what skin. He said, but you and Daddy got the same skin. Well, Daddy's black, but, he did say, I said, that's just because that's who I fell in love with.
Okay.
That was a teaching opportunity. Right. Because we live in a neighborhood where it was all white people. So... Okay.
It's indirectly asking permission to, am I allowed to like this white girl?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
As long as she loves you and it's respect, is mutual, then who am I to say who you can love? The heart loves who the heart loves, And I would like to meet her parents to make sure, But I mean, the fact that he was able to talk to us, he talks to us about everything. Crushes, when can I start dating? He's really a good kid.
Okay.
I'm a good kid. I'm half and half, right? But his father was really a good kid.
Got it.
So that's, I'm really blessed to have him bring out the better part of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I have the ability to, whichever one you're going to get today, So.
What are some differences? Like something you said I refuse to do with my child.
Oh, I refuse, absolutely refuse, because my childhood was blended with both a good, stable home with dad and a not so good stable home with mom. I refuse. So BJ and I kind of get into it with little stuff. Like it's slipping my mind, but it could be little stuff like, oh, he doesn't need that bike. Right? He doesn't need that $800 bike.
Okay.
Right? And I'm like, I refuse for my son to be the only one in the neighborhood without a bike.
Right. Right.
It's not really about him and this bike. It's about me not having what I needed when I was the only one. And you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of refusing to do that kind of stuff. So I can't even think right now. My mind's going a little blank, but it's little stuff like that. Okay. I refuse to not provide for my family. I refuse to have to ask a neighbor for sugar. Right. Like it's little stuff like that that I absolutely refuse to do. Like seriously.
All right, so let's go forward. And we covered a lot of this already. I bet you don't remember all the schools you went to growing up.
I do.
All right, so kindergarten, go.
I went to Landon Square.
That's downtown?
Yes.
Okay.
First grade, I went to Parkside.
In Parkside?
In Parkside.
Okay.
Third grade, by the time third grade came, I was at Forest Hill because I went to the the C.H.I.P.S program.
All right, so what is the C.H.I.P.S program for anybody who doesn't know?
Oh, Camden Honors Intermediate Program for Scholars. That was that was the smart. Yeah, that was when they took the highest testing kids in from 3rd through 5th grade.
Okay.
And they kind of put them all together in classes. I think there were like 2 or 3 classes per grade, but it was only 2 schools that had the C.H.I.P.S program, Forest Hill and McGraw. Did you go to McGraw?
I went to
I thought you went to McGraw. Yeah. So yeah, there were only 2 schools that had it in the whole city. So they would take the highest achieving kids and keep them together, and we kind of continued. We were in the same classes all through school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd you enjoy that experience? Like, what was your elementary school experience like?
I absolutely loved elementary school. The C.H.I.P.S program was absolutely amazing because it cut down on some of my behaviors because there was really no knuckleheads in the class. So in school, a lot of people didn't even know everything I was dealing with because I was one person in school and then another person outside of school, if that makes sense.
Right.
In the classroom, I didn't have time to be playing. I had to do this project. So yeah, it was, I loved the C.H.I.P.S program. I absolutely loved it. And even when I was misbehaving, I always got straight A's.
Right.
Always.
Right.
So I actually loved elementary school.
All right.
From there, from the C.H.I.P.S program, from Forest Hill, I went to Hatch, and then from Hatch came to High.
All right, so let's go. Hatch, middle school years.
Yes.
How much do you remember about 6th grade?
I remember a lot in 6th grade.
Well, all right, let's go into some detail. Like, what was 6th grade like?
So 6th grade for me was I moved back home with my mom 5th grade summer, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So 6th grade was very hard for me.
Okay.
And the reason why they kept going back and forth, right, was because when mommy would get clean, my dad, being an old school guy, thought it's best that girls are raised by their moms, right?
Right.
So some time would go, she would get clean, and then we would move back with mom, just because girls are supposed to be raised by their moms.
For the record, it's rare hearing a child, period, say they live with their dad. That's rare.
Yeah.
We from the hood. We
Yeah.
know. That. I feel like, so the rarest, I think by far, is a child from the inner city who lived with both parents the entire time.
Yeah.
Right?
Seriously.
That's A.
Yeah.
And then if you live with your dad, that's probably the second.
Right.
But for a girl to say it was just her dad, that might be more rare than the dual parents.
Right. Yeah.
Like, the most is like, I grew up with my grandma, my grandma's house, or it was just my mom and I.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most common.
No, my dad he never missed even when we were with my mom, he never missed a parent-teacher conference. He never missed a science fair. He never missed a track meet. He never missed anything that I ever did.
He was very involved.
Never missed it.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
So I had to move in with my mom.
And for the record, you just mentioned track. When did that start?
I think I started in elementary school with Miss Hammond. Running track. I ran
How
track.
How did that come about? Like
Mighty Mouse.
Oh, right.
I was fast. Yeah.
Did the adults put you in track, or
they did? No, they put me in track.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was a tomboy, so I would be out there running with the boys. Of course, you're going to put me on the track team.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah,
So you were a sprinter.
I was.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was.
Okay.
I was in jumping off the mattresses, doing the flips with the book. Yeah, that was me.
Okay.
Yep, that was me.
So 6th grade, you moved back in with your mom?
Moved in, and it was rough because as much as I wanted.
I'll cut you off.
Go ahead.
Time. You moved back in with your mom.
All of us.
Your other two sisters?
All of us.
All 3 of them.
All of us.
Got it. Yeah.
Because my dad also.
So you guys always moved in groups?
Always.
Okay.
Always up until I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Up until I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
So even though my dad said it's best for girls to be with their moms, he also felt a little guilty that she was missing out on so much.
Okay.
So he was trying to, okay, you good? Come on, you can't let these years go by. So he really was her biggest cheerleader on getting sober and getting clean and just.
So he really loved your mom.
They remained friends until the day she died. Like, I'm talking, now when I get into that a little more about how when my husband came around, he was like, wait, what? Like, that's how they really were friends.
It's a hard concept for people to grasp.
Yeah.
Right. And to be able to communicate.
And to be able to communicate, because not only were they friends, but like my dad eventually remarried. My mom eventually remarried. When she got clean, you know, she eventually remarried. And we would spend all holidays together. Everything together. Like, literally, it was just, this is the norm for me.
Okay.
Like, I didn't understand how people didn't understand how, like, we're going down to my mom was in, we're going down to Virginia for Thanksgiving. Come on, Dad, we're all going down to so our family was a little, I didn't realize how unorthodox it was until my husband was like, wait, what? Like,
the norm for you and your house and how your family do things is always a shock when you think about how other people do things.
Yes.
I went over some other kids' house in kindergarten and he was pouring his own Kool-Aid. I'm like, you allowed to pour Kool-Aid?
Right.
I had no idea.
Right.
You go over some other kid's house, he has Atari in his room.
Right.
It's in your room?
Right. Yeah.
Well, you got a TV?
Right.
Yeah, you know.
So yeah, it was very interesting. So 6th grade was hard. I got into a lot of trouble 6th and 7th grade.
Okay,
a lot.
6th and 7th grade.
Fighting, a lot of fighting. By the time, so it was weird. I moved 5th grade summer with mommy. By the time 7th grade came, because technically, even though we were going back and forth, right? You know when you like apply for like welfare and stuff, they put the dad on child support.
Right.
Even though on paper we were living with dad, it was still, you know how if you don't go get custody and it's just weird.
Yeah.
So we had to go to court. This is when they allowed the kids to come to court, and we was in the judge's thing.
You remember this?
I remember. Judge Stein.
Okay.
Look, how do I remember his name?
His name, right.
Yeah. And we were in there, and they asked us, you're old enough, who do you want to live with? Because
they asked you?
They asked us. They asked us because both of them were saying, Daddy was fighting like, wait, they've been living with me all these years. How I owe $50,000 in child support, you know? Like, but it wasn't on paper, so they couldn't prove it. They called us in, we clarified it, but then they asked us, who do you want to live with? My 2 siblings said, I want to stay with mommy. They wanted to stay with mommy because it was, you could do what you want to do.
Most bar.
And it was always something that I was like, nah, I want to go with my dad. Like, so that was the first time that we split. 7th grade.
Okay.
7th grade. I was in 7th grade, which means my other sister was in 9th and my other sister was in 10th. Okay. So you know they really wanted to do what they wanted to do. They in high school, you know?
Right.
So I stayed with my dad. They went with my mom.
Okay.
Now, I also played on the fact that I'm the only one here, because now this is my dad, his wife, and their children, and me.
Okay.
I was the oldest in the house. Her kids were younger.
Okay.
So I would go back and forth downtown by myself, doing what I wanted to do. But my dad, he understood that I wanted to be with my sisters. So I was allowed downtown more than just on the weekends.
Right.
Like, literally, I don't want to be in here. I miss my mom. I'm going. And of course, he didn't want to be like, no, you can't see your mom, you know. So I would go back and forth a lot.
Okay.
By myself.
That was just your thing.
That was just my thing. So, 7th grade, I was going back and forth. 8th grade, I was going back and forth, which brings me to 8th grade, which is my life-changing experience.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
When you say you did a lot of fighting, I want to point something out. You were actually good at it. You had hands. And people knew you had hands. Like, yeah, you don't want to mess with Cool C.
Yeah. So, I had a lot of anger. Can you see now why I was so...
And we don't know that growing up together. They're just like, yo, don't play with Carol.
Yeah. I mean, I did get into it. Why? You would say you're actually good at it. No.
Some people were like, I used to fight a lot, but they used to lose a lot.
Yeah, no.
Me.
No. No.
Right?
No. No.
You don't have a lot of losses under your belt.
I don't think I have any, but that's a whole nother story. I ain't going,
That's
but,
We're gonna let
No,
that
my
go.
sister used to beat me up when I was younger. They used to beat me up. So I got some L's.
Got it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know, me and Carol, Benjamin,
Okay.
Yogie and Cool C used to be written all over Hatch. And we was the biggest fighters, and Mr. Gilliam would come over the intercom and be like, Yogie and Cool C, see y'all in the bathroom so y'all can scrape y'all names off. We'd be like, what? What?
People looking like what?
Right, he would come, Yogie and Cool C. We'd be like, oh my God. Like back of the bleachers, Hatch had the balcony.
Right.
Our names would be on the chair. Mr. O'Gilliam.
So we get to 8th grade.
We get to 8th grade. I'm living with my father.
Okay.
But I'm
in Parkside?
in Parkside.
Okay.
However, I'm downtown.
But you're always downtown.
Always downtown.
Your address is in Parkside.
My address is in
You're from
Parkside.
downtown.
I'm from-
Everybody knows you're
Yes.
from downtown. You
Yes.
hang with downtown.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know me. I was because I was smart and I was a social person. I
Right.
still have friends in Parkside.
Right.
Like Annie. Me and Annie is like
Shout out to Annie Perez.
Yes. I don't know her married name, but Annie Perez.
right,
yeah.
right.
But I had a lot of friends in
In
Parkside.
Parkside, okay.
So it became really interesting when downtown and Parkside used to fight a lot. But my squad, my heart, nah, because downtown, they knew my struggle.
Okay.
They knew they were with me. They were with me at mommy house, going to the house.
They knew your mom.
Yeah,
Right.
they knew my mom. So they would be with me with the candle in the house. Here, get your clothes so you can bring them to my house and wash them. Like all of those kind of struggles.
Right.
So my commitment to them was way deeper than, oh, you cool. Whenever I couldn't go downtown, I would hang out with Annie and Peachy and
Right.
But they didn't know.
Okay.
They didn't really know.
Right.
They knew the good part.
And they hung with you.
And they hung with
really
me. No, I ain't telling nobody that.
Somebody like me.
Yeah.
I know who you are. The girl that goes to my school. She
Yeah.
cool. She got hands. But I really don't know. And that's pretty much 99% of everybody.
Seriously.
Right.
So Annie and Peachy, I hung out with them, I hung out with them almost every day. And they didn't know. All they knew is that I lived with my dad.
Okay.
They knew nothing about the other side.
Got it.
So that was for my downtown friends and family, and that's it. And it didn't
You got
leave.
two different worlds.
Two different worlds.
You got your Parkside world,
Yep.
your Hatch world, Hatch Middle School world, your downtown world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your dad world, and your mom world.
Absolutely.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 8th grade, I'm living with dad, but I'm downtown. I think that was the most pivotal point in my life in general. It made me be able to be like, okay, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing? So it's the weekend. I'm supposed to be catching the bus home, November. I'm supposed to be home. I think my curfew was 6 o'clock. Even though I fought a lot,
Home at
my dad's house.
Okay.
Even though I fought a lot, I was never a bully or like a troublemaker. That wasn't my thing. I really liked people. So I never bullied people. I never, not that I remember. If I did, I'm sorry. Look, not that I
watching it.
Yeah,
I might feel some type of way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she bullied me.
No, I don't remember. I really thought growing up that I was a protector.
Okay.
Like, you can ask a lot of our friends that were in our classes. I didn't allow my friends to make fun of them. No, we're not doing that. You're not going to do that. Won't you do that to somebody who's not scared?
Right.
That was a lot of my story.
Okay.
So if I did bully, I don't know and I don't remember.
Okay.
But in general, that wasn't my character.
I always tell people, the bully never remembers anyway. Even if they did bully. The bullied always remembers.
Right.
The bully doesn't rember.
Right.
Like I got a bunch of stories.
Oh, that's a good good take on that.
Right. Because
So-
the bully has bullied so many people. He
Oh my
or she
God.
doesn't even remember everybody they bullied.
Seriously.
Not to say that you weren't bullied, but it's the bullied who
Right.
always remember.
Right.
Like
so
yesterday.
So if I bullied you, I really am sorry. I was going through a lot.
Got it.
Listen to my story.
Got it.
But I really don't. I don't think I remember getting to a lot of fights for other people. A lot of my fights was fighting other people's battle. Even now, my husband still say, "Here comes Captain Saver."
Right.
I do not like when people are wronged. It does something to me. Like, I don't like when, and it goes into my job, right? I work for DCP&P. I work with a lot of parents who are on substance abuse and who are neglected. All that stuff matters because of, that's why I'm so passionate about it. I understand you're going through this, but this is not the end all. My mom was clean for 23 years. Like, you know, so don't, just because you're doing this now, that does not define who you're going to be and who you are, you know, but that's a whole nother thing. I did not like when people did stuff to people that couldn't defend themselves. Right. And you wouldn't do that to me.
Right.
Like, I remember very vividly taking up for Mittery.
Gibbs.
Remember when she moved here? She was from, like, Connecticut.
I don't, but she is from Connecticut.
Yeah, and she came in and, what was her name? Big girl. She used to always mess with her. And I used to be like, that's my cousin, so say something else to her. She stopped messing with her. Like,
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
You
like,
already had that reputation now.
Like, that's my cousin.
Right. She
ain't do nothing to you. Like, you just mad. Like, I remember stuff like that. So, this particular incident.
Okay.
I had been fighting this girl back and forth. And she kept saying, well, I'm going to keep fighting you till I win. I'm like, I'm tired of beating you up. Like, it's not, you just forget, just take your L. Like, at some point, it should click in, you're not going to win.
Right.
But every time we saw each other, it was on site fighting. I'm like, man.
People are like that. Like, we gonna fight so fast.
No, you're not. You might as well forget it. Like, in the time before this particular incident, I was on my way to and I was fast, right? So I'm on my way to a party. I had my all white jeans set on, and I had to beat her up before the party. Like, come on, I'm trying to go to the house party, and you playing. You and your friends.
Wasn't even at school. This was
just in the hood. Yeah. Like, so now you and your friends and your sisters and them chasing me. Y'all can't catch me.
Right.
Like, so then we end up somewhere, and then I end up beating her up. But that was the time right before this time. My point is, we fought, I think, for a whole year.
So this wasn't an isolated incident?
No, this was not an isolated.
You knew this girl?
I knew her.
Yo, that's crazy. Let's touch on that for 1 second. I'm about to make up a percentage. But you tell me how accurate you think it is. 90, I'm going to say 90% of the guys who get killed in the hood, in the inner city, is by somebody they know.
I say 99. 99.
It's somebody you knew.
99.
We not in Camden, in Philly, just randomly shooting people.
No.
It's somebody you knew.
Because in order for them to get close to you, it got to be somebody you know.
Right. Or they know where you be.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, 99.
Okay.
Only that other 1% is the people who don't have the balls to do it, so they hire somebody to do it.
So we building up to, the point we're building up to is you knew this girl, and she knew you. Okay.
Literally, it was like a year on and off of fighting.
Wow.
She was fighting over a boy.
Okay.
He liked me. I liked him, but see, she was having sex with him.
Right.
That's not my fault, sweetheart. That's not my fault that you done dropped the draws. Right. Don't got nothing to do with me. Okay. So now he all up on me, but I have nothing to do with what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, I found all this out later, but I couldn't understand why she could. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, and the way my dad raised me, I'm not fighting over no guy. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, so this particular incident, I said all that to say, I started this fight.
Okay.
The one time in my life where I actually started, I'm supposed to be on my way home to my dad's in Parkside. It's 6 o'clock. I'm with my two friends, Lee and Nav.
Shout out to Lee and Nav.
And we go to the store, the Poppy store right around the corner from my grandma's house, right on 4th and West, from that, right across from that park. And I go in the store, she's in there.
Oh boy.
So I'm like, I should punch her in her face. Like, mind you, I was supposed to be home an hour ago.
Okay.
Let's just start with that. I ain't even supposed to be down there. I'm like, I should punch her in her face. Like, I just kept mushing her and I never did this before. I'd be like, are we doing this today? Normally, I'd be like, are we doing this today? I don't feel like it. Like, yeah, you know what it is,
Right.
So this particular time, I was basically taunting her in the store. I totally forgot that her older sister, who was an adult, lived across the street.
Okay.
Totally forgot.
Okay.
So
You was in the moment.
I was in the moment, and I don't even know why. Like, that wasn't what I normally did. That wasn't, anything. So
Could it have been because you was with your team?
nah, because they would be with me any of the other times.
Okay.
So it wasn't even like
So they knew what it was.
They knew what it was too.
Got it.
So they like, hey, cool, see that go, whoever.
Such and such.
Yeah, that go such and such. What you gonna do? I'm like, girl, I ain't worried about her today. So these were the people I hung with every single day.
Got it.
So they knew the history, and we were all from downtown. So they wasn't taking sides. It wasn't a taking sides thing.
Right, got it.
You know what I'm saying?
It was a personal thing between Carolyn and such and such.
Exactly.
Got it.
So it was a personal thing.
Okay.
So she left out the store. I finished getting my little food or whatever, and then I came out and I saw her, and I just went over there and hit her.
Okay.
We fighting, had her on the ground, and it was like in between the car and the wheel. Had her in the middle of the thing.
Okay.
And her sister was out there.
Right.
I believe her sister handed her the knife because I was beating her up the whole time. So like, I believe her sister handed her the knife.
Okay.
She stabbed me in my leg first. My leg kind of went numb. And I had on my bright orange C.H.I.P.S sweatshirt that was a lot of money back in the day.
Right.
And she stabbed me in my lung.
So she stabbed you twice.
Twice.
Boom. Boom.
Yeah. I didn't even realize it until
you didn't even know.
No, adrenaline.
Right.
That's a whole nother thing. Until Nav or Lee, I can't remember. One of them was like, they was like, yo, she bleeding. Corsi, she stabbed you. And I'm like, what? What? Like, and I looked down and there was so much blood on my orange C.H.I.P.S sweatshirt.
Right.
I was so mad because that sweatshirt was so expensive.
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't wear Champion now because I'm so mad. No.
I had an argument with somebody. I was like, Champion was so hot in the 90s.
It was.
Or was it?
No, it really was.
Thank you.
Like, that sweatshirt was like $50. Back in the day, that was a lot of money.
Right,
we used to shop at Foreman Mills, so a $50 sweatshirt was a big deal.
Got it. So you look down, you see all this blood.
I see all the blood.
No pain yet.
No pain.
Okay.
Once I saw the blood, I could not breathe.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh my God, oh my God.
Mind you still on top of her?
I'm still on top of her, but by now, once I stop and I'm looking, she gets up, she runs. My friends leave me. They start chasing her.
Right.
To the sister's house.
Okay.
Now they busting out windows, they busting out car windows, and I'm sitting there coughing up blood.
By yourself?
By myself. So I kind of like felt myself passing out. Mm-hmm. And I never forget, because prior to this, my relationship, my dad was a Christian. He was a pastor.
Okay.
So prior to this, I'm like, God, I'm good on you. You had me go through this, you had me go through that. So I was in a very interesting place.
What denomination was your dad, by the way?
He was Baptist.
Baptist, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom's family is Pentecostal or non-denominational.
Got it, okay.
So I have a very rich background in church, right?
Right.
But at this point, I'm like, nah, you ain't real. All y'all frauds. Like, I'm good on all y'all and all this. However, when I'm passing out, what I remember saying is, God, I'm sorry. If you save me from this, I promise you I'll serve you. So I kind of like passed out. All I remember.
On a gate? On the ground?
On the ground, on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Because by this time I'm trying to walk. It's hard for me to breathe. So I'm walking, but I'm like really slow walking.
Where were you going?
My grandma lived a couple blocks down.
Okay.
Because the store's here. Then the sister lived across the street. Mm. So we're on this block, and then it's the park, and then the next block is my grandma's house.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm walking towards my grandma's house.
While you bleeding?
While I'm bleeding. So I'm walking, and then I kind of pass out. Now, I don't say this lightly, but this is all full disclosure. I literally felt something pick me up.
Really?
I felt something pick me up, right? And I felt like it was just walking with me until I got in front of Rush. I don't know if you know Rush, Mia Anderson's husband. Ali.
Oh, a person?
Yeah,
okay.
a person.
I don't.
We called him Rush back in the day. He was going inside of the house. I think that was either his mom's house, his house. I don't know whose house it was. Once he saw me, he was like, "Is that Carol?" He was friends with my uncle.
Okay.
Soon as he said that, I fell to the ground again. Whatever was helping me, gone now.
Okay.
Rush picked me up, put me in his car, drove me to my grandma's house, and was like, "Oh my God, she's bleeding. I don't know what to do." My grandma was yelling, "Take her to Cooper.
Right.
Take her to Cooper." He didn't know what to do.
The
Like
hospital, right,
he like, "Somebody come meet me there. I don't know no information." Like,
Okay.
you know what I'm
So
saying?
he panicking too?
He panicking too. Mind you, I'm bleeding all over his back seat. Like.
Right.
But Cooper was only because my grandma lived on Benson. She lived 3 blocks down from Cooper. So So as he went to my grandma's, she said, "Take her to the hospital. We'll meet you there." So he took me right to Cooper.
Okay.
I had emergency surgery. I had the tube because my lungs had collapsed. The doctor said, "We don't know how you are alive right now."
Wow.
Like I had blood bleeding through my mouth. They were like, "We don't understand how you're breathing, like how you're alive," you know. So that was an interesting. I was in 8th grade.
Right. You're a little kid.
8th grade.
Basically a child.
8th
No,
grade.
not basically. You are a child. Right.
A child.
Right.
A child.
A child.
So my friends
The
feeling
cops showed up?
Oh yeah, the cops showed up. It was
Just pandemonium.
surgery. I had to have some kind of surgery, and actually I don't even know what kind of surgery it was. I know I had to have the tube inserted. I was in the hospital for a good 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. And then I was home. I don't think I went back to school until like the end of January. That's how jacked up I was. I had to learn. They cut where she cut me at in my leg. It did my major artery thing right here.
Okay.
So I had to learn how to walk again. I had to do all of that all over again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
8th grade.
You remember certain people coming to see you at the hospital?
Oh, the hospital was flooded. They had to stop the visitors the first couple days.
Okay.
Yeah, it was people in and out of there like crazy. But the first couple of days, because of me being so exposed and they didn't want me to get infection, they had to stop the visitors. We had to have a visitors list.
Okay.
But after that, I mean, it was my Parkside friends, my downtown friends, my school friends, teachers, like everybody was coming up there.
I want to say this. On, and get it on video and on record. I always admired you growing up. After this happened.
Right.
Because I knew who you were before it happened. I knew what happened, but I never knew specifically what happened until right now at this moment. I saw the change that you made in high school. You became a completely different person than who you were.
Yeah.
And I never saw that happen before.
Yeah.
I want you to know I always respected you for that. Even in our computer science class, Mr. Dalia.
Yeah.
You had this class first and I had them after you, so it would overlap.
Yeah.
And I would see you in there. And I would be the one that always would bother you, like, we'll see. Like, I remember the Cool C days, they long gone.
Yeah.
Like, this woman is a completely different person. And you don't see that happen often.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I was always, like, I never told you as a kid.
Yeah.
But I always respected you and was fascinated by your story. Yeah. And how it actually changed the person that you were.
Yeah, definitely changed. It didn't happen right away though. After the stabbing, that was 8th grade. You didn't start to see the change till 10th grade.
That's true.
Right? So 8th grade, of course, this girl now moves. She had to move. Right. Because my family
was on her.
Not only were they on her, they were on her family. Like, it was crazy.
Right.
So I had a lot of, I was going to get her back. even though I made that promise to God,
Right.
I'm all right. Let me do this real quick, and then I'll be back.
Yeah,
like
oh, I'm on her ass.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Right.
God, I know you saved me, and I said I'll do this, and I really am. But let me get her real quick. Like when I see her on sight, it's a wrap.
No talking.
No talking, and I'm gonna stab her back.
Ah.
Like I was very.
That was your mindset.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I ain't never say it except to the two Lee and Nav. They already knew. I said, I'm telling y'all now, I'm going to jail. Like that's just what it's going to be. And I'm prepared to do this time for whatever. But ain't no way she great walk around while I'm still can't even hardly breathe. Like.
Got it.
So I was very intentional with it. But I will say that God always dealt with me in dreams, even from when I was a little girl.
Okay.
Like I've always been in tune with the spiritual life. I just didn't have the right coaching to understand what was happening.
Okay.
You know how some people are like, oh, psychics is fake and they don't have no dreams or they can't see into things. I'm telling you now, as a pastor, as a prophetic intercessor, and I have always seen things from when I was a little girl.
Okay.
So I had a dream, 9th grade summer, that she moved back.
Okay.
And in the dream, we fought again. I stabbed her up. I killed her.
Right.
In
That's
the dream.
What I was going to say a couple of seconds ago.
In the
Right.
dream.
Right.
In the dream.
Okay.
I had a dream that I stabbed her up and I killed her.
Okay.
And myself, being as though I was so big and bad, right?
Right.
I went to the funeral.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Went to the funeral.
That's gangster.
When I got up to the casket, it was me
Really?
in the casket.
Oh, wow.
It was me. It was me. And I woke up immediately and was like, God, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's when the change happened.
Okay.
That's when the change happened. I said, I made you this promise. You spared my life.
Right.
You now are showing me what's going to happen if I continue down this vengeance
Right.
path.
Okay.
So that's when you saw the change. I committed to it. That next year she came back. The next year she came back to Camden High.
In real life?
In real life.
Okay.
The first time we saw each other, you know, the ramp. We in the ramp. She down one end, I'm down the other. She saw me, took off running.
Really?
I chased her down. You know I'm fast. So
Right.
chased her down. And I went to her and I was like, stop. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to fight you. Like, because it was a big deal when she came back. Everybody was like, oh my God, you know she back. You know she back.
Right.
Like everybody knew on sight. Like,
Right.
chased her down. And I was like, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you. So finally I caught up to her. And I was like, I just want to say thank you. So she was like, what? I said, no, I really just want to say thank you. I know it don't make sense. I said, but you changed my life forever. Like, I don't think that I would have made this drastic change if all of this didn't happen. Like, all of this mattered. It made me who I am today. And it made me, and she was just standing there like.
Confused.
She was just like, what? I was like, no, thank you. I was like, I'm saved. I love God. I'm going to change the world. Now, mind you, I'm in the 10th grade talking like what? Like,
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to change the world. People going to have me. God going to use me. And I was so excited.
Right.
And she was just standing there like, am I getting punked? Almost like, what?
Right.
What in the world is going on? And I walked away. I said, I thank you. God used you.
Wow.
And then after that, she was a little hesitant. I had to call all my friends off, all my family off.
Right.
No, don't do it. Leave her alone. Don't beat her up. Like, it was a lot of that, me diffusing fires, because everybody was still mad except me.
Right.
And I'm like, if I'm not mad, it happened to me. Like,
Right.
So if I'm willing to forgive and if I'm willing to move on, then y'all gotta let it go. Like,
Right.
So eventually everybody did, and when I still see her, hey boo, like,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, that was interesting. Changed my life forever.
Okay. All right, so that's 10th grade. How was the rest of your high school experience besides that? Beautiful.
You know, the high was the high. I did a lot of extracurriculars. I was a cheerleader. I ran track. I was in a marching band.
You was in the marching band?
Yeah, I was a drum majorette. Me and Cantrell was the drum majorette and the drum major.
Okay.
Chilling in the front, going off.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did all of that. You know, I was in computer science, so we would go to different, things. I enjoyed Camden High. I enjoyed it.
So you like school?
I loved school.
Okay.
School for me was the opportunity for me to just be. Like, with everything going on at home, at mom house, at dad house, on the streets, and school was just, I'm here.
Okay.
Like, I enjoyed school. I loved school growing up.
Really? Mm-hmm. So, in high school, most people get their first jobs.
Yes.
Did you work in high school?
I did.
Remember your first job?
I worked at my very first job. I turned 16 on December 3rd. I started wet seal in the mall on December 4th. I only worked there for the season, but then right after that, I got a job at McDonald's downtown, and I worked there until I graduated.
Really? Mm-hmm. Huh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Mm-hmm. How'd you like it?
I did like it. I also would travel with the gospel group too, so that was some stipend.
Did it have a name?
Yes, C.H.I.P.S and GA.
C.H.I.P.S. Shout out to C.H.I.P.S and GA. Okay, okay.
So I started that at 16.
So you can sing too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I won class vocalist. You don't remember? No, I'm just.
Okay.
No, yeah. So when I made that commitment to God, I was serious.
Okay, got it.
And that's why you said, even on camera, the change. I meant it. Like, I'm not playing. Like, I meant it.
Okay.
But I think it's a correlation between when you experience a near-death situation.
Right.
You realize this other stuff really don't matter.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It changes your view on a lot of stuff. And the fact that I can't explain what picked me up, how did I end up in front of Rush's house, like all of that stuff is people, you don't go around telling people because then they think, oh gosh, here go this weirdo. But I know what happened. Like, you can't tell me what didn't happen. And, even a doctor's report where they're like, we don't understand how you're alive. Like, all of that matters.
Right.
It should matter.
So in terms of trauma and traumatic events, that might have been the highlight of your childhood.
Yeah.
Let's. I want to touch on that with you, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
For a couple more seconds. People may have known what happened. Even I said it. I knew what happened, but I never knew what happened. I wasn't there. People don't know what you experience mentally, psychologically.
Yeah.
Even in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, you panicking. You can't breathe. You this tough girl. Everybody thinks you're this tough girl. And now you're vulnerable. You're in the hospital for 3 weeks, but eventually you're home like 3 months later. Nobody knows what you're going through in the room, in your bedroom by yourself.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was very hard.
First of all, for anybody watching this who's younger, you'll be the first person to tell somebody it is not cool to get stabbed.
No, it's absolutely not cool. It's not cool to bully. That was my very first time that I can remember, right? My very first time starting a fight. I can't even remember, because I got along with everybody. So, like, unless it was something where, down to, I ain't gonna let you jump my friend, like, something like that. But just in general, I kind of got along with everybody. So for me to start that, I really don't even know what that was about. Like, honestly, like, yo, what are you doing? Like, this is not even who you are. All of my fights were really because of my sister and my cousins and, like, people, now my sister, she started everything. And then I end up fighting for her, but just in general, that wasn't my character. So it's not cool to go outside of who you authentically are. It's not cool. If you are cool with everybody and that's just who you are, just be you, And like I said, it wasn't that I was showing off, because they were there all the other times when I didn't start. So I don't know what that was. I really don't know, other than the fact that I know it was necessary.
Okay.
It was necessary for the change. It was necessary for who I am today. Other than that, it just doesn't make sense. Like.
So psychologically, And emotionally,
Yeah.
you're also a female who, by nature, very emotional.
Yeah.
What did you go through when you were home? When you got home and it's like all the hooplas died down, the calls stopped.
I was angry.
Okay.
I was very angry and I wanted vengeance.
Okay.
I lived, breathed, and slept vengeance.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to get you back. That's what, like, literally. And I did start going to church with my dad because I'm like, okay, I can't explain this angel picking me up.
But you know what's crazy? Again, let's throw out a percentage. 75% of the inner city murders are, if somebody could have got in and talked to somebody or calmed the situation down, wouldn't have happened.
No, would not.
How many of our young men, of our brothers, and cousins, and boys have gotten killed over an incident
Yep.
that either it shouldn't have went that far in the first place,
Yeah.
or it had somebody stepped in and calmed it down,
Yep.
it wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So at least you had time. I get it, the vengeance, like, yo, as soon as I see her, whatever.
Yeah.
You're not as mad, well, I don't want to speak for you. Were you as mad as on month 1 as you were on like month 15?
So month 15, I think I was more mad.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you couldn't find her?
Because I couldn't find her. No, seriously.
It's not even funny.
Like, I was like, so you really just gonna do this and leave?
Right.
Like, so you not even, I was.
So the anger built up.
The anger built up. And I believe that's why God had to deal with me so drastically in my dream. Because even, like I said, since I was little, I used to have dreams. I used to see things. And I thought I was crazy. You know what I'm saying? However, I know that God deals drastically with me in dreams and in different things because I can get hard-headed. Okay. When I am determined to do something, I'm going to do it by any means necessary, and nobody's going to stop me. Okay. Nobody's going to stop me. So when after month 1, I'm like, all right, she left, but I'm going to get her. You know what I'm saying? Month 6, oh, you still ain't back yet? You know, my family already done pulled up on yours. Like,
right.
You know, now a year later, you still, I'm feeling some type of way because now it's making me feel like I ain't never going to get you. Okay. So it built up. Mine was actually the opposite. You know how some people be angry and then they let it go?
Right. As time goes on, they not mad anymore.
No, mine was getting bad. Okay. Like, mine was getting bad. And mind you, if we'd have had Facebook and stuff and I could have saw where she was at, like, it was going down. Like, you know, so I think God dealing with me the way he did so drastically in that dream to be like, this vengeance that you're seeking, you know, because I was determined to do it. So this vengeance that you're seeking is going to end. You could possibly die. Me being that casket. So that's when I was like, all right, cool, got you. All right, I'm gonna let this joint go.
You say the commitment that you made to God was real and you took it seriously. What actually does that mean?
So that means, like, literally after the whole step, because when I tell you I was off the hook. I was drinking and smoking and partying and just everything. I literally was like, nope, not smoking no more. Nope. Like, I remember being on the ledge and they like, here, we gonna, I'm like, nah, I don't smoke. Oh, Camden High. Okay. You know, we used to sit outside on the ledge at lunchtime. We used to walk outside. We used to be able to actually leave the grounds because we were responsible enough to come back. Right. I remember sitting on the ledge and they was like, yeah, we about to take this walk, we about to smoke. I was like, oh, I don't smoke no more. Literally, I was just smoking yesterday. And they was like, no, seriously.
You was just with them.
And they was like, what you mean you don't smoke? I said, I don't smoke no more. They was like, you was just smoking yesterday. I was like, yeah, and I'm not smoking no more. Like, right. And they was like, whatever, all right. So a couple days went by, they keep asking me, no, I'm not doing it. And so they like, yo, she really don't, no, I don't. I told y'all I'm done. Like, it never controlled me. I did it just to cope with stuff, if that makes sense. Like, I don't need this. I don't feel like it no more. Like, my personality is really all or nothing with anything that I do.
Got it.
If I'm going to say I'm doing this, then I'm doing this with 100% or I'm not doing it at all.
Okay.
And I think that's my personality in general. So if I'm your friend, I'm going to be loyal to the end. Like, you know, if I'm married to you, I'm committed to you. You know, if if I'm saying I'm giving up my life, then I'm giving up my life. I can't do both. I don't know how to do both. So
you made the commitment to stop doing
everything.
things.
Stop cussing. Stop everything. I was like, I don't want to do this no more.
You became like the ultimate good girl.
I mean, no, because I still had a lot of trauma to work through. So my attitude still wasn't good. Like, you know, I still had to work on forgiveness. I still had to work on those inner things that most people shy away from.
Right.
You know, so the outward appearance, the things that I just stopped was immediate. But it was a lot of work that had to go into the inner part of the healing.
Now, ultimately, you graduate from high school.
Yes.
What year? Shout out.
Shout out to class of 98.
Okay.
I was in the top 10% of my class.
You remember who all came to your graduation?
Oh, yeah. It was at the football field. So it was everybody there, both sides. Mom, dad, siblings, cousins, you know. It was a big deal. Yeah.
Now, the government says that when we turn 18, we're adults, but in actuality, we're still kids. Mm-hmm. At what point do you feel like your childhood officially like ended? Was it 18? Was it before 18? Was it after 18?
You know, it's kind of weird. I think my childhood ended when I was like 10. The thing, like my husband comes from a very balanced family. Mm-hmm. His parents been married 54 years.
Right.
So, you know, he's always had both parents in the home. Both his parents work. He come from a very stable home.
Okay.
So when we compare and when we communicate about how to raise our son,
right.
I'd be like, well, I remember when I was 10. He'd be like, babe, we can't go by when you were 10, right? So let's talk about what is what and what's the best course of action for us, bringing both our childhoods together and coming up with a plan on how to raise my son. But I feel like my childhood was stripped away from me because even though I was the youngest,
right.
A lot of stuff fell on my shoulders. Even with me, with my mom, being a caretaker of my mom before she passed, taking care of all the funeral, I still am responsible for almost everything. Even my dad still has me down as I'm the youngest. Where y'all other kids at? Like,
right.
Seriously. So my childhood kind of ended earlier than most.
So with that being said, my favorite question to ask people, you can tell me if you've ever been asked this before. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best ever and 1 being the worst possible, how would you personally rate your childhood? What number would you give it?
I would give, with my mind now, I would give my childhood like a 6 or a 7.
Okay. What would have had to happen for it to be like an 8, 9, or 10?
Mom's addiction.
Right.
And that's it.
Okay.
I think that weighed the most on me not rating it as highly as, 8, 9, or 10.
We'll take that.
Yeah, mom's addiction.
Okay.
It played very heavily on me because she started when I was so young.
Right.
So those missing pieces from a mother was missed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question is actually the same question. I'm going to ask you it twice. Mm-hmm. The first time I'm going to ask it negatively. Mm-hmm. The second time I'm going to ask it positively.
Okay.
Do you have a worst childhood day that if you could, you would like to ever forget it and erase it from history? Or time period? Worst childhood day or time period?
I would say the worst time period because when you say worst day, several days popped up in my brain.
Okay.
The worst time frame is the beginning of my mom addiction all the way to like 5th grade. So like my elementary school
okay.
was the worst time frame for me
okay.
because everything was so new and everything was just so unknown.
Okay.
And a lot of stuff happened. We would be here for months talking if I would tell all the stuff that I've experienced, that I've seen, that I've witnessed in those first years.
Got it.
It's crazy. So when I see shows like Snowfall,
Right.
like I'm locked in. I'm like, oh, I remember that. Like,
Right.
you know, it's so much trauma that happened in those years.
A lot of things that probably a child shouldn't have seen.
Should not have seen, should not have experienced, should not have been exposed to. None of that stuff. Like when my mom was very, they used to call my mom Aunt Debo.
Okay.
Because she was very, like how I was,
Right.
I get it from my mama.
Got it.
Like,
Got it.
you know, so, you know, just things like I've witnessed domestic violence. I've witnessed, you know, I remember one time my mom stabbed up somebody, like,
Oh, wow.
and gave me the knife and said, take it down 2 blocks and put it in the sewer, in the
Right.
like the stories, you know. So it was a lot of trauma surrounded around her addiction.
Okay, got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
So let's flip it. Let's reverse it to some happier times. Do you have a favorite childhood day or time period that, if you could, you would like to go back to?
Favorite time period? I would actually say after I gave my life to God. So like 10th grade on up.
Okay.
That was, so 10th, 11th, 12th grade was to me the best time because I stopping all the foolishness, right?
Right.
Stopping all the stuff that was really a mask for me to deal with the trauma that I was experiencing. But I also joined this group, right? C.H.I.P.S and GA.
Okay.
And literally we were traveling. So like a lot of time, this is when the big separation happened from me and my downtown friends.
Oh, okay.
So from me traveling so much, going to New York City, going to Baltimore, going here, going there, on weekends, on this, on that, from me being exposed to the world.
Right.
When I came back to Camden High, mind you, my dad took us to Florida every year for vacation. So I was never one to just be in Camden. However, seeing different places and going different places, I would come back to Camden High like, oh, let me do this work real quick so I can go travel this weekend. Like, it just was a great eye-opening experience for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We probably already covered this this question, so I ask everybody: is there anything in your childhood that you feel affected, that occurred, that you feel affected your life forever? We've already touched on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we wrap up, what is your overall perception of how your childhood affected your life? So the woman who you became, the woman you are today, the Carolyn of today. Do you feel like, first of all, that your childhood kind of molded you into who you are? How do you feel like it's affected your day-to-day life now?
So, everything that I endured, now that I'm older, right?
Okay.
Even my mom's addiction.
Right.
Even my dad's unconditional love, like looking at addiction as a disease or a sickness is what my dad used to describe it as.
Okay.
You know, spending days where I was hungry and, you know, the stabbing and just talking to kids. All of that has made me who I am. It all contributes to even my job, you know, working with children.
And you said you work for DC,
DCP&P.
What is that?
That's
mean?
the old DIFUS.
Okay. What is
So,
that?
Yes. So that is the Division of Child Protection and Permanency. That's the kid. I deal with families where neglect or abuse have happened, or you know, parents who may be dealing with substance abuse. My relationship with parents.
Wait. That's interesting. That's what you became in life.
Yes.
So what's your actual
I work for
No, what's your actual profession? Like, are you a caseworker?
I am.
You are?
I am.
Wow. So you became that.
I became
Your
that.
childhood directly reflected on who you are as an adult.
Directly.
Wow.
Directly.
So you rescue kids who've run away?
All of that. I work in the adoption unit.
Okay.
but I haven't always been in the adoption unit. Permanency is where I thrived. So the permanency unit was me going in. It's after the intake, after the initial removal, or after the initial contact with us coming in to do service. Then they hand your case to permanency, right?
Oh, okay.
This is when I get in. I work with the parents. I set them up. My ability to be transparent. I'm from where you from.
Right.
Ain't nothing you great tell me that I ain't seen or experienced. Nothing.
So nothing has ever surprised you?
Nothing.
Shocked you?
Nothing.
Okay.
And I'm able to say, if I'm able to get it together, if people, then you can. The excuses with me was very slim to none. That's why I had such a success rate.
Okay.
On my cases.
Okay.
They were able to relate.
Right.
They were able to feel not judged.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
It's not the man coming in. It's the girl who used to live down the street coming in and telling me, get your stuff together.
This is amazing.
Get your stuff together. Your kids dependent. I don't want to hear nothing about that. Deal with your trauma so you can get your babies back.
Right.
And they respect it. So now that I'm in the adoption unit, right, that's after they've been in placement for so long. The law says that they can't spend, remember how when we were growing up, people would be in foster care till they 18?
Right.
No more.
Really?
They give, no more. According to the ASFA law, that's a federal law that says basically you have 18 to 22 months to get your stuff together. And if not, it goes to the adoption unit because kids deserve permanency.
Okay.
Right? So by the time they come to me, the goal is changed to adoption. They have 6 months to prove to the judge that they can either try, and if they try within those 6 months and try to decrease and the blood drug test levels come back lower, or they go to an inpatient program, or they do whatever, then I flip their case back to reunification. They get to keep working with them. They give them an extension.
Okay.
In those 6 months, if you do nothing, if you don't, then we move forward with terminating your parental rights and the kid goes for adoption.
That adoption can be now some family.
Yeah,
Can it be their family?
it can be. So New Jersey actually is, that's where I'm from. New Jersey is very big on kinship placements.
Okay.
So from the very beginning, they're asking them, do you have any family or anybody, even if your neighbor down the street, Miss Barbara,
Right.
do you want them to go with them?
I appreciate that because you would rather be with somebody you know.
Yes.
Just these
Yep.
people you don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they're big. New Jersey is big on kinship. We have to explore every single person you name
Okay.
before we. Now, mind you, when the removal first takes place, we may place them with a stranger, but in the meantime, they're still working to find family and friends. But if you identify, if I go in and you identify, I want them to go to my sister, we're contacting that sister right there.
Okay.
But a lot of times they're so angry and so hurt, they don't give people in the beginning.
Got it.
You know?
Got it.
So, yeah, me at the end, my job is very crucial because I've had cases that flip back.
So you became a mother,
Yep.
a wife, a grown woman, beautiful black woman, a caseworker. What else? What else?
And a pastor.
And a pastor.
And a pastor.
And a pastor.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So final task. Given everything you know now and everything you experience and the woman you are today, if you could go back and talk to a younger version of you right now, I want you to pick the age, and what would you say to her?
I would go back to maybe 3 or 4.
Really, 4-year-old Carol, what would you say to her?
It's not your fault. I with my mom's addiction, I thought it was me, thought that I could do things to help her. I wasn't a good enough child. I wasn't a smart enough child because you were there for them, but you weren't there for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
yeah, I would say it's not your fault. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Carolyn, we appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.